Welcome to C++. Now, we will see the definition or the technical definition of the object-oriented programming language. Now, object-oriented programming is an approach that provides a way of modularizing programs by creating partitioned memory area for both data and functions that can be used as templates for creating copies of such modules on demand. This is the technical definition of object-oriented programming language. Now, in this way, OOPs allow decomposition of a problem into number of entities called objects. Means in POP, our problem consists of list of instructions, and in OOP, our problems gets decomposed into number of small modules which are known as objects. And after decomposition of a problem into number of entities called objects, then builds data and functions around objects. Means first it decompose your main big problem into small entities called as objects, and then it will build data and function around these objects. Now this you can imagine, just see this diagram. Now in this diagram there are three objects: object A, object B, and object C. You can observe this diagram. In object A, there is a combination of data and function. In object B, there is a combination of data and function. In object C, again, there is a combination of data and function. Means already I told you, we can decompose our big problem into small objects, into a small entities called as objects, and then it will build data and functions around these objects. Okay, so this is the explanation of the object-oriented programming language definition. Now, diagram shows the organization of data and functions in object-oriented programs. Now, the data of an object means, just consider this diagram, object A. The data of an object A, the data of an object A can be accessed only by the functions associated with that particular object. Means for this object A, there is data and there are some functions. Now, this data is accessible only by the functions which are associated with that particular object A. Means functions of object B can't access data of object A. Okay, so this is the very important feature of object-oriented programming language, which is not available in procedure-oriented programming language. Okay, and the second thing is the functions of one object can access the functions of other objects. Okay, means functions of object B can access functions of object A, but functions of object B can't access the data of object A. So this is very important feature of object-oriented programming paradigm. Okay, now what is the conclusion of this definition? Functions that operate on data of an object are tied together in the data structure. And the second conclusion is data is hidden and cannot be accessed by external functions. Okay, so this is a very short and important concept of object-oriented programming, which is the definition of OOP. Okay, now the next point is the basic concepts of object-oriented programming language. Okay, now whatever language you are going to learn, it may be C++, it may be Java, JavaScript, Python, PHP, .NET. Okay, all these languages are the object-oriented programming languages. Okay, so if you want to learn these languages, you must have to learn the basic concepts of object-oriented programming languages. Okay, now which are those basic concepts? Now just see this diagram. Now these are the 8 basic concepts. The first concept is object, second class, third encapsulation, fourth data abstraction, fifth inheritance, sixth polymorphism, seventh dynamic binding, and the last one is message passing. Now we will see one by one. The very first concept of the object-oriented programming language is object. Now what is meant by object? As I previously stated, a problem is decomposed into a number of entities called objects and then builds data and functions around these objects. Now, objects are basic runtime entities in an object-oriented system. Object may represent a person, a place, a bank account, or any item that the program has to handle. Okay, means any person, any place, any bank account number, or any item that the program has to handle is nothing but the concept of object. Now, when a program is executed, the object interact by sending messages to one another. Like human can send the message to one another, the objects can send message to one another, and in this way they can get interact. Each object contains data and code to manipulate that particular data. Means object is nothing but the combination of data and functions or code which operate on that data. In previous diagram, I already we learn it. Okay, so in this diagram you can observe this object is nothing but the collection of data and functions which operate on this data. Okay, so this is nothing but the concept of object. Now, there are two ways for representing an object. In first diagram, you can see I have taken one example. The object name is student, and the data is name of the student, date of birth, marks, and etc. And functions which operate on that data: total, average, display, and etc. Means the object student consists of this data and this code which operate on this data. Okay, and the entire entity is known as object student. This is the first way for representation of an object, and the second way is this: total, average, display, and data is there inside the object. So this is nothing but object concept. Second most important concept of the object-oriented programming language is class. What is class? Just now I told you object contains data and code to manipulate that data, and the entire set of data and code of an object can be made user-defined data type with the help of a class. Now this is a class concept. Now we know the built-in data types like integer, float. Okay, these are the built-in data types. Their meaning is already defined to the compiler. Now, like such data types or like such types, we can create our own types. And how to create such own types? With the help of class. Class is a concept which allow a programmer or user to create his or her own data type. Now, this is the concept of class in object-oriented programming language. I will repeat once again what is meant by class. The class is nothing but the entire set of data and code of an object can be made user-defined data type. Means user can define his or her own data type with the help of class. We'll see the syntax and example of this class concept. In fact, objects are variables of the type class. Means data type is class and variables are objects. Okay, a class is a collection of object of similar type. Okay, for example, mango, apple, orange, these are nothing but the members of fruit class. Okay, fruit is a class, fruit is a data type, and which are the variables of that fruit class? Mango, apple, grapes, orange, and etc. These are the variables of fruit class. So class is fruit and objects are mango, apple, orange, and grapes. Okay, so this is the very best example of the class and object. Now, what is the syntax for the declaration of class? Now, syntax you can observe here. The class name. Class name is nothing but the name of the class, name of your own class, and here the object name. Okay, and semicolon. And the example is fruit. Fruit is my class name, and mango is nothing but the object of my class. So in this way, you can declare the object of your class. Okay, so this is the very these two are nothing but the very basic concepts of class, and these two concepts, class and objects, are very basic and very important to learn the object-oriented programming language. Okay, now the next concept of the object-oriented programming language is encapsulation. Now, all of you have seen the capsule. I have given the diagram of capsule here. This capsule consists of two contents. Upper side contents are different and the lower side contents are different. So what is capsule? Capsule is nothing but the content of or the mixture of two contents. Okay, the same phenomenon is followed in object-oriented programming language. Okay, what is the technical definition of encapsulation? The wrapping up of data and function into a single unit called class is known as encapsulation. Okay, so this is very one of the basic feature of object oriented programming language, which is known as encapsulation. I will repeat once again. Here, a class which wraps function and data together in a single unit, and this feature is known as encapsulation. And in object oriented language, we have to follow this feature. The next concept is data hiding or information hiding. Now, what is the data hiding or information hiding? As data is not accessible to the outside world, and only those functions which are wrapped in the class can access it. So these functions provide the interface between the object's data and the program. Means outside functions can't access the data of the particular object. So there is an insulation for the data. Okay, and this insulation of the data from the direct access by the program is called as data hiding or information hiding, which is also one of the major or important feature of object oriented programming language. Okay, the next feature of object oriented programming language is data abstraction. Now, what is meant by data abstraction? Now, data abstraction refers to the act of representing essential features without including the background details or explanations. Now, one real life example I can tell you to make this concept clear. Television set, okay, or TV. We can only see the pictures or the screen, but the actual wiring, actual connections are available at the backside, and we are not interested in that wiring and in that connections. Okay, we are interested only to see some movie or to see some serial or advertise. Okay, means only essential features are visible to the end user, and the all the explanation or the details are available at the background. And the same concept we have to follow while learning object oriented programming language. Okay, now classes use the concept of abstraction and are defined as a list of abstract attributes such as size, weight, and cost, and functions to operate on these attributes. Now, the attributes are sometimes called as data members and member functions. Now, these two entities, data members and member functions, these are the two attributes of class. Okay, variables. Now, henceforth, I will call variable of class as a data member and functions of a class as a methods or member functions. So what is class? Class is a collection of data members and member functions, which are the attributes of our class. Okay, since the class uses the concept of data abstractions, they are known as abstract data type, ADT. What is full form of ADT? Abstract data type. Because class use this concept, the concept of data abstraction, that's why class is known as abstract data type. Okay, so this is the basic concept of data abstraction. Just switch off your mic. Who is there? Okay, the next concept is inheritance. The major and the important concept of the object oriented programming language is inheritance. Now, what is inheritance? Inheritance is the process by which object of one class acquire the properties of object of another class. Means the bank account of parent or the money which is earned by parent can get the access. Means student, child, suppose there is one parent is having one child, that child can get the access to the money which was earned by his or her parents. So this is nothing but the inheritance concept. This is the real life example. Okay, the same feature we have to follow while learning object oriented programming language. It supports the concept of hierarchical classification. Now see this diagram. I have taken one simple example, the example of birds. Okay, now at the top side, the bird is there having attributes feathers and legs. Okay, now this bird is nothing but the parent. Now this bird has just two childs, flying birds, non-flying birds. Okay, so sorry, this is non-flying birds. Okay, now the flying birds and non-flying birds are nothing but the childs of parents bird. Okay, now again inside a flying bird there are two childs, robin, swallow. Okay, now these are the childs of flying birds, and penguin and kiwi, these are the childs of non-flying birds. Okay, by mistake I have written flying birds here, but it is non-flying birds. Okay, it's my mistake, sorry. Now this is the best example of inheritance. I will repeat once again the explanation of this example. Bird, which is a parent of flying and non-flying birds. Flying bird is a parent of robin and swallow, and non-flying birds is an example of penguin and kiwi. Okay, so this is the example, means robin has its own attribute along with the characteristics of flying birds. Same here, flying birds has its own attributes or its own characteristics along with the characteristics of his or her parent bird. Okay, means child has its own characteristics along with the characteristics of his or her father and mother. Okay, so this is nothing but the concept of inheritance that we have to follow while learning the object oriented programming language. The basic principle behind this sort of division is that each derived class, means these flying birds and non-flying birds are the derived class of this parent class bird. Okay, the principle behind this sort of division is that each derived class shares common characteristics with the class from which it is derived, as shown in figure. Okay, so in OOP, or the object oriented programming, the concept of inheritance provides the idea of reusability. This means that we can add additional features to an existing class without modifying it. Okay, we can add some more features without modifying the previous features. So this is possible by deriving a new class from the existing one, and the existing class is known as parent class and derived class is known as child class, and this relationship between parent class and child class is known as inheritance. Okay, and the new class will have the combined features of the both the classes, mean it has its own features along with the features of his or her parents. Okay, so this is the concept of inheritance. Now one important concept or the interview question I want to tell you here, in C++ language there are 5 types of inheritance: single inheritance, multi-level inheritance, multiple inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, and hybrid inheritance. And in Java, which is the again one of the object oriented programming language, there are only 4 types of inheritance are available. Okay, which are those 4 types? Single inheritance, multi-level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance. Okay, only 3 types are there. 2 types are not allowed in Java. Okay, which are those 2 types are not allowed in Java, which are allowed in C++? These are multiple and hybrid inheritance. Why these are not allowed in Java and allowed in C++? In multiple inheritance, there are 2 parent classes. Okay, so child can access the properties of any parent with the help of friend function in C++. The friend function is available in C++, which is not available in Java. That's why this multiple inheritance is not allowed in Java. This is the answer of this interview question. Okay, so now the next concept is polymorphism. Now polymorphism is what? Poly means many, morphism means form. It is a Greek word. Okay, polymorphism. Now it is a Greek form, means the ability to take more than one forms. Okay, an operation may exhibit different behaviors in different situations. The behavior depends upon the type of data used in operation. Now there are 2 types of polymorphism. Okay, compile time polymorphism and runtime polymorphism. Okay, now I will tell the example of polymorphism. Okay, just see the first example. We will see the 2 examples. In first example, I have taken one operation for the addition of 2 numbers. Okay, and which operator I have used here? Plus operator, and operands are integers 1 and 2. Okay, now if I use integer numbers as an operand for plus operator, then this operator will perform the addition of these 2 operands. Okay, because both the operands are integers, then this operator will perform their addition. This is first example. In second example, I have taken the same operator. Okay, same operator is used here, but the type of data is different here. The first data is string and the second data is also string. Okay, then whether it will perform the addition, is addition possible for these 2 objects, these 2 data members, or these 2 operands? No, because their type is string. These are not integers. Now in this case, this operator will perform the concatenation operation. Okay, and the result is this: good morning. It will join the 2 strings two operands, and final output will be the good morning. Okay, so in first case, this plus operator performs the addition of two numbers. In second case, the same operator performs the concatenation of two strings, and the final output will be good morning. So this is nothing but the concept of operator overloading. Got it? What is meant by operator overloading? Okay. The second example is nothing but the function overloading. Now, what is meant by function overloading? Using a single function name to perform different type of task is known as function overloading. In operator overloading, we have taken or we have used the single operator, but we have performed different tasks. In function overloading, we will use the single function name, but we will perform the different tasks, and this is known as function overloading. Okay. Now just see this diagram. In this diagram, the draw function is there. Okay. This is a draw function, and the data is shape. Now this particular draw will draw this shape. Okay. Now whatever data we pass as a parameter to this function, it will draw that particular shape. Now here in this case, it will draw the circle. In this case, it will draw the box. In this case, it will draw the triangle. Okay. So if we pass the different data, it will perform the different task. But the function name is same. Draw, draw, draw. Okay. Means function name is same, but the execution or the task which that function will perform is different. Okay. It depends upon the data which we will pass as a parameter. So this is nothing but the concept of function overloading. Okay. Now polymorphism is what? Polymorphism is a Greek form, ability to take more than one forms. What type of data we pass as a parameter? It behave like that. Okay. So there are two types: compile time polymorphism and runtime polymorphism. I have taken two examples. In example one, I have taken the example of operator overloading. And in second example, there is a diagram which explains the concept of function overloading. Okay. Now we will move forward towards next concept. The next concept is known as dynamic binding. Okay. What is meant by dynamic binding? Binding refers to the linking of a procedure call to the code to be executed in response to the call. Okay. It means that the code associated with a given procedure call is not known until the time of the call at runtime. Okay, this is the very small concept of object-oriented programming language, which is known as dynamic binding. The next concept is, and the last concept is, message passing. Now, what is the message passing concept? An object-oriented program consists of set of objects that communicate with each other. Okay, and when we write the OOP program, we have to follow some steps while writing the OOP program. Which are those steps? I have given that steps here. 3 steps are there. Creating classes that define objects and their behavior. This is the first step. Second step, creating objects from class definitions. And the third and last step is establishing communication among objects. Okay. Now, when objects communicate with one another by sending or receiving information, much the same way as people pass message to one another, message passing involves specifying the name of the object. Second thing, the name of the function, and the last thing, information to be sent. Okay, we have taken one simple example here. Just see this example. This is the example of message passing. Here, the first thing, which is known as object name. The second thing, the message we want to pass, and the last thing, the information which we want to send. Okay, so this is nothing but the simple example of message passing. Okay, now these are nothing but the 8 basic concepts of object-oriented programming language. I